looking for somewhere else to play. We'll tell you where he could possibly end up. We'll also do not one but two Q&A mailbags as well today. Use the hashtag NFL, or you can super chat to get your questions on today's show, and we will answer them when we do our mailbag segments, talking specifically about free agency and trades. So be sure to get your questions in. We'd love to hear from you guys. As you file in and we get this show started, this is our build-up portion of the show. We want to hear directly from you guys. Tell us where you are watching today's edition of NFL Daily from, and we will shout you out and your city as well. Trace and I, we're here with you from the Chat Sports Studios in beautiful downtown Dallas, Texas, here on this Monday. I got Juan checking in from Vegas. I got Lore also here from Hamilton City, California today as well. I got Shamari in Peoples, Boston. Paul in Tonganoxie, Kansas. Tongi. Good to see Tongi in the house today, just outside of Lawrence, Kansas there. A.J. Bryant checking in from West Virginia. Jeff says, hey, from San Antonio. Bill from La Crosse, Wisconsin. I got Raider in Fresno. XX Epic Jet X in Canton, Ohio, the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I also got Maz in Sanford, Florida. Pete in Orange County, California. Dirt Williams in Fort Lauderdale. I got Monte just down the road in Arlington, Texas as well. Trace Gerard here with me this afternoon. Always a good time when we get to hang out with Trissy Trace today. Trace, how you doing, man?
Dude, feeling good. It's a Monday. Love to be in the stew. Ready to talk some ball with you, TJ.
Yeah, we got plenty to talk about today. And one of the things in particular, and I think you're going to have a lot of interest in this, Trace, is when we talk about Davante Adams. Mm-hmm. Now, I think we're still a ways off from a trade actually potentially happening.
Yep.
But you can't talk about Davante Adams without mentioning Derek Carr. Could they take their show to New Orleans together to join your New Orleans Saints?
Well, a reunion would be fun. It certainly is an interesting thing to talk about. There is obviously the connection with Derek Carr and Davante Adams, but Davante Adams has a lot of teams that could be a really good fit for him, so I'm excited to get into that segment. It's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, we'll have that coming up later on. I see we also got Marcos in Miami. I got Trey in North Carolina. AJ says, excited for the news. Appreciate the notifications as always. Monte says, who the hell are you?
No. He said, who the heel?
Who the heel? Hail are you? Hail are you? I'm Tyler. He's Trace. Thanks for joining us today. Let's see. Speaking of the offseason.
Real quick.
Trace, go ahead.
From Schefter, flexing for Thursday Night Football just got past 24-8 per source.
Really?
I don't think they should do that.
I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
No, I don't think it is either.
How much notice are they going to have ahead of time?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what about people who are like booking travel to go to a stadium out of town?
You were waiting all season to go to a certain game?
Exactly.
And it gets moved to Thursday?
Or moves from Thursday to Sunday. And
right.
You're like, what?
That's not great. Jay McD says, shout out from Eureka, Montana. Thanks for checking in from Eureka. Let's see. Who was the best signing so far this offseason? We've had a lot of changes throughout the NFL to this point. I think it's going to look a lot different in 2023 as opposed to 2022. Mm-hmm. Who was your favorite signing? Chat, let us know what you think in that chat box. Trace, I'll start with you. What was your favorite signing? And I'll even let you say Derek Carr, but...
Yeah. I was going to say,
even beyond Derek Carr, what was your favorite?
I'm a Saints fan, for those of y'all who don't know, so I love getting Derek Carr. But just in terms of just general NFL, man, I got to say, I mean, the Dolphins have had a nice free agency. I kind of like Jalen Ramsey. I like that move. I think that was a solid one. I also really like the Niners boosting their defensive line in free agency with Javon Hargrave.
That was a big one.
I think that was a big move as well.
Yeah, I think that was a big deal. That was probably the biggest acquisition of free agents was the Niners getting Javon Hargrave. Love the Seahawks getting Bobby Wagner, bringing him back. That was a big deal. One that's kind of sneaky under the radar. I've always been a big Baker Mayfield guy. I'm excited to see what he can do in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Dave Canales was the quarterbacks coach with Geno Smith in Seattle this past year. He's now the OC in Tampa Bay. You already have two great receivers in Mike Evans. Chris Godwin, of course. Watch out. I think Baker Mayfield could have a good year. I am concerned about the offensive line, though.
Their defense is still solid. It's not a terrible defense. They got a good defensive front. The Bucs will be an interesting team because they could very quickly find themselves in a position to either A, just keep going and try and keep getting wins if you're racking them up, but B, could also be like, you know what, let's go get Caleb. Let's go get Drake May. So the Bucs, I like that answer, Tyler. It's a good one.
Yeah, Anthony says, why would the Raiders trade Davante Adams? We will tell you more about that situation coming up later.
Also, OBJ, I like that signing, too.
That's a good answer,
that was a
AJ.
good one.
Yes, OBJ was a good signing. They did pay it. It did come at a premium, but they did make that receiving core better. Also checking in, let's see, Paul's a Chiefs fan. PG says, Trizzy, one of the Raiders take I can't see behind the heart. Cap hit.
They would.
By trading Davante Adams.
They would take a cap hit. So
they would, but if he's not happy, then, they might not have a choice.
You got to, if he ain't going to play for you, are you going to pay him to not play?
You're going to pay him to hang out? And watch movies?
Not saying that that's going to happen, but we got to talk about it because he's not happy with the current situation on the offense.
And you can't blame him either. Sam says Jalen Ramsey to the Dolphins. Anthony says Raiders better get 2 firsts at least for him. Let's see. What else? Javid says, yo, Trey, Saints fan here as well. Who would make the wide receiver 3?
Rashid Shaheed or someone else? I think Rashid Shaheed is your wide receiver 3. Now, James Washington, a recent free agency acquisition, could also be a guy I could see moving to wide receiver 3.
Former Steeler, Cowboy.
Yep. But I think that Rashid Shaheed, the UDFA out of Weber State, will be your wide receiver 3 just because of how explosive he was last season and with the limited touches he got. But Javid, I hope I got your name right. I hope you're subscribed to Saints Now by Chat Sports.
Check it out.
Saints
it's free. You get to see Trace talking Saints all the time over there.
Dang Skippy.
Jeff says Edmonds in Chicago. That's another good answer, too, as well. So some pretty good answers in the chat so far. Keep that chat rolling, and we'd love to hear from you guys throughout the show today. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat, and you can get on the show. When we answer these, when we read through the chat box, we're not putting you on screen or anything like that. But if you use hashtag NFL or Super Chat, we can put whatever comment or question you have on screen, and we can show your face and your avatar, and so everybody can see you.
You see where this black box is? Your question, your picture, your name is going to be appeared right next to us. So
yes.
Get on the show, guys. It's fun. It's a fun way to hear what you guys want to say.
Yeah. And Javid says, I'm sub to that channel, Trace. Hope it's a better year for the Saints next year.
Good. I hope so as well, my friend.
Yes. And AJ shouting out our Ravens channel.
There you go.
Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports as well. I'm over there also on our Patriots and our Seahawks channels.
Let's go.
So we all certainly stay busy around here. Richard says, I thought loyalty and wanting to play for a team you grew up was a factor for Davante. He is making a lot of money. We want people who want to be a Raider. I understand frustration, but play or go. Yeah, Richard, it's a fair point.
So real quick from Schefter, he says, more rules as it pertains to the Thursday night football thing. Only 2 flexes are allowed all season. They must be done with 28 days advance notice. Teams cannot play 2 away Thursday night football games in a season. So, a little bit more structure to it, but still, I don't like it. I don't like that move. I really don't like it.
So what's also interesting is they already voted on this once.
Yeah.
And it got turned down.
And this time it was 24-8 in terms of yes.
So somebody got their attention and said, you better vote for this.
What's up, Roger? What's up,
Money
Goodell?
talks. Money talks, as they say.
PG, $20, I'll rip a shot for you, my friend.
Yeah, there you have it. That's all you have to do, get Trizzy to get those shots going. Any question, we'll answer. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the show. We're just about ready to get started. Shout out your favorite team and a player you would like to add. Who is somebody that you would like to see on your team? when I look at the Seattle Seahawks, for example, Trizzy, that's a team that really needs help in the interior of the defensive line. I'm looking, if they could get Quinnen Williams, that'd be fantastic. Even Ndamukong Suh, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for Seattle. What are you looking for the Saints? What's a player you'd like to see add?
Man, I know. So the Saints have a need at the linebacker position, so I could see the Saints. I personally wouldn't want them to add Devin Bush. I think that Devin Bush is a quality football player, but I don't think he necessarily fits what the Saints need technically. But I think Leonard Floyd, another option.
Well, Devin Bush went to Seattle.
Devin Bush did go to Seattle. I'm thinking of, not Devin Bush, Wright. Name's slipping me.
Okay.
Hold on. Name's slipping me. No. Devin White.
Devin White, yes, of the Bucs.
Devin White of the Buccaneers, yes.
Well, he's wanting to be traded. I don't know if they'll trade him within the division.
I don't know if they'll trade him. I don't think they would. Also, Yannick Ngakoue, Frank Clark, just get some more pass rushers on there.
There it is.
There we go. There we go.
$20 right. Super chat coming in. PG2869 says, missing Mitch, do him proud and drink Raiders. Mitchie's on a nice vacation.
He is on a very nice vacation right now.
You're dog sitting, right?
I'm dog sitting for old Chucky boy. Me and my main man Chuck, we're hanging out, having a good time, just going on.
We call him Charles.
We do call him Sir Charles of the Raiders Report. You know?
Yes.
I'll go grab a shot glass. And here, PG, I'm gonna make a deal with you. I'll rip this shot after the first segment. All right, we got to get to it, but I'll do that first shot after this first segment. Okay? Sound good?
Cool. That's what we call a tease in the biz. And there's another $5 super.
Heyo!
Jay McD. We'll answer that coming up in our mailbag that we'll do. Jay McD, thanks for the love there. We'll hop it on screen, though.
We'll flash it for you. But we'll answer the
how about
question.
those Cowboys? How about them Cowboys? Everyone talks about free agency. Their low-key trades of Gilmore and Cooks will have a huge impact for little cost. Thoughts? I really like the Gilmore trade. Cooks, yeah. I mean, Cowboys making an impact. Yep. Jerry really likes he doesn't like free agents. He does like his trades. And so far, I don't think the Cowboys have had a bad offseason. And you look at the NFC where things have stacked up. They are not nearly as good, the NFC is, compared to the AFC. I think if you're Dallas, you are probably just a step below San Francisco and Philadelphia in the NFC. You're probably the third or fourth best team. So how about them Cowboys indeed? I like what this Cowboys team is at. A lot of pressure on McCarthy entering 2023. We're at 28 likes right now. Guys, if we get to 40, which is about half our audience, so we need about 12 more of you, then we can officially start this show and get you the latest news and rumors, what's happening across the National Football League here on this Monday. So smash that like button or give it a little tickle. Either way, whichever you're feeling, just go ahead and tap that like button. Tap it in. Tap it in. AJ liked it. Thank you, AJ. And we'll officially get started with today's show. We'll begin with the news and rumors. We're going to talk about Jadeveon Clowney. Also, we'll talk about Chaisson, formerly of LSU, now with the Jags. And then Ezekiel Elliott is who our area focus will be today on our news and rumors segment. There we go. Got 40 likes. Good work, everybody. Then 2 news and rumors mailbags. And also, we're going to talk Davante Adams trade rumors, trade destinations, possibly where he could end up. Dustin liked the video. Thank you. Bolivian Empire as well. Javid also did. And then I see Dustin and Richard also hit that like button as well. So, guys, thanks for the love. Laura says like it up. Juan liked it as well. You guys are real ones. Thanks for liking today's video. And we'll go ahead and Trace, if I'm all set on my end, you good to go? All right, let's go ahead and get started with today's news and rumors here on this Monday on NFL Daily Live. Welcome in to NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we have the latest news and rumors from across the National Football League as we will tell you everything you need to know, talking everything from Jadeveon Clowney to Ezekiel Elliott and more, coming up in just a matter of moments. Before we do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. I know that things are slowing down a little bit, but we aren't slowing down here at Chat Sports as we continue to talk about the National Football League each and every day on NFL Daily. As you'll never believe it, we bring you daily coverage around the National Football League with our news and rumors segments. We do live shows during the week. And when the season rolls around, this is going to be an electric factory. I can guarantee you that much with our Red Zone channel and all the other stuff that we're going to be doing here on NFL Daily. So go ahead and stop whatever you're doing. Hit that subscribe button. You'll be glad you did. Turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. We'll get started with today's show. Jadeveon Clowney is still available in NFL free agency at this point in time. He's one of a number of pass rushers that are sitting on the open market. And as most of you know, he began his career with the Houston Texans after it was highly sought after coming out of South Carolina, and it seemed like a lock even before he got drafted that he would be the number one overall pick. Fast forward, he began his career in Houston. He's bounced around for a couple different teams, but could a homecoming back to Houston be in the cards? Well, Clowney talked about it with the local Fox affiliate in Houston. That's Fox 26, and he had this to say. It would be nice. All my family is here, friends here. The guys I work with can help me take care of my body a lot better being right up under them. You never know. You never know what will happen. You will never know what's in front of you. And Clowney still works out in Houston as well. His trainer's there and still very familiar, very home to that area. As we mentioned, where he began his career. He's been a couple other places, but obviously still has those strong ties to the Houston Texans there. Now, I'll say this. There's twofold for me when it comes to the idea of bringing Jadeveon Clowney back to the Houston Texans. First off, I still think that he's got some good football left in him. I know that we've seen the injuries with Jadeveon Clowney in recent years, but when he's healthy, he is still a dynamic force, and I think a very good football player that still has something to offer. It's not going to be the money that he was making previously. I think that he is going to be at a discount of some sorts. But the other half of this, too, although the Texans, I think, will be improved in 2023, they still need to sell tickets, right? So let's be real here. This is a franchise that still has something to prove, still has to give people a reason to show up. And it's been that way since the end of the Deshaun Watson era. And so not only do you have your young quarterback in C.J. Stroud and your potential star in Will Anderson and some of those pieces there, Jadeveon Clowney certainly doesn't hurt the brand that you're trying to sell for this next era of football there in Houston. So I think it's a win on both sides, the football side and also winning back your fan base there in Houston. The numbers on Jadeveon Clowney. Over the past 4 seasons. You can see last year he had 28 tackles, 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and 1 forced fumble. But you go back to 2021 when he had a very nice standout season with 37 tackles, 9 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles. So you don't have to go very far to find the player that he was just as recently as 2021. Now, he's not the only top defensive end that is available on the market right now. Clowney's out there. Yannick Ngakoue is still the prized possession of this free agent market right now, and he's only 28 years old, so that certainly makes things nice for Ngakoue. Robert Quinn, Melvin Ingram, among others here, still available at this point, so we'll see where these guys ultimately end up. So I want to know, will Jadeveon Clowney return to Houston with the Houston Texans? Will we see a homecoming of sorts? This is our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Let me know. Y for yes, in for no. Will Clowney make his return or not? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Moving on, Clavion Chaisson, formerly of the LSU Tigers, now with the Jacksonville Jaguars. According to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, he says that the Jags' outside linebacker could be traded very soon. Now, he hasn't been with the organization very long, but with a different regime in there. He's played for a couple different coaches now, and a lot of changes that have gone on. He kind of got looked over, passed up in the depth chart, and now there's not much of a window of sorts for Chaisson in the current scheme of sorts, despite how talented of a player he may be. Here's more from Albert Breer. If you're looking for a reclamation project, Jacksonville's Jadeveon Chaisson would be one, and it'd hardly be a shocker to see him moved during camp. I look at Chaisson, and I see a guy with untapped potential, and this could be a bargain buy for another team. If you're looking for that help in that front seven and trying to find a guy that is still figuring himself out without having to give up too much, this could be a fit for you. And still on the rookie contract, his fifth-year option was declined, so you have an opportunity to pay him a lot less than he would have with the fifth-year option. Had he received that, that could be a good fit for somebody that's looking for that bargain buy of some sorts. I think that's where Jadeveon Chaisson would be a good fit for somebody, is that there should be a market for him, but not a high asking price of some sorts. Just get him off of Jacksonville's hands. He's played in 40 games in the last 3 seasons. He's had 11 starts. He's been available. He's been healthy, but just kind of got passed over. So he's somebody to keep in mind. We'll see if he ultimately gets moved from Jacksonville. Should the Jags trade Chaisson? What do you think? Let me know in the comments section. T for trade, K for keep. What do you think is going to happen there? T for trade, K for keep. Let me know what you think. The NFL draft is over just about a month ago it was now, right? But the rookie jerseys are still on sale now, and so whether you're a fan of Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or some of these other notable quarterbacks, now's the time to get a jersey, because you think about it, these are the jerseys these guys are going to be wearing for the next several years to come, right? You don't have to worry about certain players if they're going to be traded or how long they're going to be with the organization. We know for the most part these guys are going to be around a bit. You hope that they're the future faces of your franchise. So you can get these jerseys right now, right in time for Father's Day, or at least have it in plenty of time for the season to begin. And get yours today at chatsports.com/NFL jersey. What are you waiting for? Get yours now, chatsports.com/NFL jersey, to get your rookie jerseys while supplies last. Could we see Ezekiel Elliott take his talents to Los Angeles? CBS Sports is suggesting that the former Cowboys running back could rejoin his offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, in L.A. Kellen Moore, after being fired as OC from Dallas, ended up taking the same position with the Los Angeles Chargers. And could Zeke potentially fit that offense? Here's more from Cody Benjamin of CBS. Los Angeles isn't in dire need of a running back as long as Austin Eckler is in tow. But Eckler is at his best as a passing outlet for Justin Herbert. And despite a relatively ineffective closing chapter with the Cowboys, Elliott still has the wherewithal to hold a rotational role. New Chargers coordinator Kellen Moore is also familiar with Zeke from their days in Dallas. Now, I look at Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, he has lost the speed. He's not the same running back that he was even just as recently as a couple of years ago. But you look at what Zeke was able to do and how effective he was in short yardage and still punching in 12 touchdowns this past season. I think he can be a complementary back, that he can be your power number 2 back that you line up on short yardage and third down, those situations. Ezekiel Elliott can be effective, and I'd rather have him in short yardage than risk injuring Justin Herbert potentially. To me, that makes a lot of sense to have Ezekiel Elliott potentially in that role. What doesn't make sense if you're the Los Angeles Chargers, though, we know that Austin Eckler had the trade request, that he's not happy with that situation there. If your idea, if you're the LA Chargers, is, we're going to bring in Zeke, but move on from Austin Eckler, would just be stupid. Zeke doesn't have it anymore to be your number 1 running back. Austin Eckler, I like a whole lot, and I really like him as a receiver as well. I would like to see these two pair up. But if your idea is to bring Zeke in to replace Austin Eckler, you're just a fool. So highly advise against that. If you're going to do this, you have to do this the right way. as far as I'm concerned. Where will Zeke sign in free agency? Some talk out there he could end up back in Dallas. Or will it be the Chargers? Who will Zeke end up playing for in 2023? Let me know in the comments section. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there, and I'll see you next time right here on the NFL Daily. Okay, so that is one segment down, 3 to go. We'll get to a mailbag here in just a second. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. But we want to know, guys, where will Zeke sign in free agency? Seen a lot of Dolphins in the chat. Dustin says the Chargers. Lore says Buffalo. What else? Where do you guys think we're going to see Ezekiel Elliott end up when it's all said and done as far as that goes? Shamari says the Bucs. You know, if I were to take a guess where he ends up, I think there's still a decent chance he ends up back in Dallas with the Cowboys there. PG says Seattle. Seattle's got plenty of running backs. I think New England's also a possibility as well. New England is a little short-handed at the running back position right now. Trace, let me get your thoughts. Zeke, I think that he still, if he's used in the right way, can still be effective in this league. And if you're a team that's looking for a number 2 back, and in a particular a power back, Zeke could be a great fit. Where do you think he could possibly end up here?
Man, I like the take of Zeke back to Dallas. I think that makes sense. Maybe it's a hot take. Houston?
Yeah.
They could use a veteran running back. They could use a little bit of help. He knows how to play the ball. Dolphins, maybe the Vikings, if they move on from Dalvin Cook,
right?
Go just get a depth guy.
Right, because Matson's going to be your starter. Need another 2 back behind Matson.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I see Cardinals in the chat. That one could make some sense as well.
Chat, it's kind of all over the place. I'm seeing Cardinals, Browns, Bucks, Fins, Pats.
I don't know about the Eagles. I don't think the Eagles necessarily need him. It would be more of a luxury pick, but I could see Howie just being like, haha,
right.
Suck it, Dallas.
Howie just doing his thing as
Howie
he does.
being Howie at that point, yeah. We did get a $5 super chat.
We did.
I don't know if you saw that.
Jeff with a $5 super chat. Bang!
Bang!
Clowney is my number 3 free agent for Chicago. My question is, who is a good trade partner for Chicago to add an edge rusher? Well, you look at the edge rushers that are being shopped right now of the edge rusher market. I look at, if I'm Chicago, there's the free agents, by the way.
Here's a list of free agents you could sign.
I'm very tempted, if I'm Chicago, to go ahead and sign a guy like Yannick and not have to give up the trade asset.
Yeah, I would agree.
As far as that goes. I know that there's, Chaisson is being talked about as possibly being a trade piece. I know Montez Sweat, his teammate, also has been talked about there in Washington as a couple guys.
Chaisson?
We mentioned Chaisson.
I didn't hear you say that.
Those 2 guys are being talked about within that own organization. But if you're Chicago, you're not good enough right now to compete for the NFC title. You might be good enough to win the division, potentially. I don't know if I want to spend all that money and give up assets on a defensive end or an outside linebacker of some sorts when I could just go get Yannick and not have to give up anything. But, Jeff, it's a good point.
I like Lore, the Tennessee Titans, if for whatever reason they move on from Derrick Henry for some reason, if they end up doing that, you have him and Tajay Spears. Could be interesting. Also, PG, I hope you're still in the chat. I owe you a shot. Doing some peanut butter and jelly whiskey. If we get another $20 super chat, I bet Tyler would want a little sip of this.
Hey, so. I would love to take a sip of that. How is it?
It's good, man.
Another $20 super chat. I'll take a shot of the peanut butter and jelly whiskey.
All it takes.
But thanks for the super chat, love, guys. We will get to our mailbag next. Use hashtag NFL or super chat to get those questions in. We don't have to go very long.
Yeah, we're Gucci. But we do need we need questions. We can't do the mailbag unless we have questions, and I only have a couple in here. So
I don't know how Lakers and Nuggets made the chat, but here we are. We're here nonetheless.
Yep.
Exotic soy sauce checking in. Thank you for that. Nicholas, that's how you do it. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat. You too.
RC.
Yes, you too could be on the mailbag.
RC, you, my friend, are going to be in the mailbag. Good question. Thank you for using hashtag NFL.
Great work. That's how it's done.
It's that simple. It's that simple. And you get on the show.
And in this mailbag in particular, I'm really looking for trade questions. If you guys got some trade ideas or some potential trade candidates, I really want to hear that in this mailbag in particular. So if you got trade ideas or trade questions, send them our way right now as we get to our first of two mailbags today here on NFL Daily. When Trace is ready, then we'll be good to go. All right, here we go. NFL Daily, mailbag time. Let's get after it. Welcome in to NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we will answer your questions, whatever you guys have in store for our mailbag segment. And this comes from the live shows that we do here on the channel where people use the hashtag NFL or Super Chat and get their questions to us, and we answer them in real time. So our first question in the mailbag today comes from Jay McD. It says, with a $5 Super Chat, how about the Cowboys? Everyone talks about free agency. Their low-key trades of Gilmore and Cooks will have a huge impact for little cost thought. So you get Stephon Gilmore from the Carolina Panthers. He's going to be one of your starting outside corners. You get Brandon Cooks from the Houston Texans to play receiver for you. And traditionally speaking, the Dallas Cowboys organization under Jerry Jones has kind of stayed away, for the most part, from big free agents. They traditionally don't spend a whole lot of money in free agency, but they do love their trades. And so, Jeff, I look at both those guys. Dallas didn't give up a whole lot in either one of those trades, and they got two impact players. I think when you look at the Cowboys heading into this upcoming season, the class of the NFC is Philadelphia and San Francisco, but the next tier, the Dallas, the Seattles, of the world, that next tier, they're right there. And I think Dallas did a good job of getting better from what they were a season ago, and they were still a pretty good team last year. So, yeah, I like what the Cowboys did with their moves there. Folks, if you want to be a part of our mailbag segments, then subscribe to the channel. That way you can get your questions in and join us for our live shows. Subscribe so you can be a part of our next mailbag here on the channel and turn on notifications so you can make sure to be a part. And the best part about it, it's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Subscribe right now here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. All right, $5 Super Chat coming in from Jeff. Jeff writes in, Clowney is my number 3 free agent for Chicago. My question is, who is a good trade partner for Chicago to add an edge rusher? Well, Jeff, good question. Thanks for the Super Chat. Love the support there. But I'll preface this and say, first of all, when I look at the Chicago Bears situation, this is a team that has made significant progress this offseason, but they're still another year away from being a serious threat, from being a real contender. So if you're the Chicago Bears, yes, you do need to add a premium edge rusher at some point, whether that's in the draft or bringing in outside help. But in actuality, I think that if you're Chicago, you might not necessarily want to give up assets right now when you can go get a guy like Yannick Ngakoue who's just sitting out there and not cost you a thing. I know that there's talk about Chaisson in particular, and he's the guy that comes to mind of a potential move. Washington possibly getting a deal done here to make this happen. But in Chicago's case, where they stand right now, I think they might be best off just signing in free agency, not have to give up assets. Thanks, Jeff. Nick writes, will the Cardinals trade Budda Baker or DeAndre Hopkins first? Nick, that's a very good question of who ultimately will be out of the door first. And I would guess the momentum, and that's what all these things kind of come down to, seems to be in the direction of a Budda Baker trade first. And he has straight up called for a trade, right? He's demanded a trade, demanded to be out of there. Meanwhile, DeAndre Hopkins has kind of played the maneuvering game. Like, well, I didn't say I wanted to leave here, but I'd like to play for a contending team with a franchise quarterback, And so it's like, well, what way is it? So I think Budda has given the more straight-up answer, and I would say that it's more likely Budda gets traded, but maybe they're both gone here pretty soon anyway. So I would guess Budda, but I don't say that a whole lot of confidence. All depends on offers that you get, too. Pick one. Who goes first? DeAndre Hopkins or Budda Baker? Type DH for DeAndre Hopkins. Type BB for Budda Baker. Let me know what you think in the comment section. DH for DeAndre Hopkins. BB for Budda Baker. What do you think? Let me know. Maz writes, do you think Dalvin Cook will be a Dolphin? I think it's certainly possible. I think you look at Dalvin Cook's situation, there's a number of teams that it could possibly make sense for Dalvin Cook. Now, I don't think anyone's going to trade for Dalvin Cook, and if they are, he would probably have to take a pay cut or the Vikings would not get much out of him as far as that goes. But, you know, I think that we're going to see him in free agency. You're going to see a team like, you know, Miami potentially, New England, Dallas, just to name a few. I think there's going to be a lot of suitors out there for Dalvin Cook. And you look at the running back market of guys out there, you know, of who we talked about when it comes to trades and players that could potentially moved on from. The Ezekiel Elliott's, the Austin Ecklers, the Joe Mixons of the world, and all that. The thing that Dalvin Cook has going for him compared to a guy like Zeke, for example, is that although Dalvin Cook is on the back end of his prime, he can still be your starting running back next year. I can't say that about Zeke. So could he be a Dolphin? Certainly possible. But wherever Dalvin goes, he should still see a decent amount of playing time. RC Plane Builder, Davante Adams to Atlanta. Wouldn't that be interesting? I think Atlanta is one of the top potential trade destinations for Davante Adams. If the Raiders ultimately do move on from Davante Adams, Atlanta is going to be high up there in potential landing spots. The Falcons are a team that is ascending, that's headed in the right direction. They're looking for more help for their young quarterback. They have some good young talent there already with Kyle Pitts and company there, but still looking for that number one receiver. Atlanta could make a lot of sense. Wouldn't surprise me if Atlanta is that team if Davante Adams ultimately moves on. Today's show is sponsored by our friends at BetUS. Been a while since we talked about BetUS on the show. BetUS is still taking your money and taking your bets whenever you want. And whether it's the NBA playoffs that are going on right now, the NHL playoffs, maybe you feel like betting on some baseball or some NASCAR or something like that, they got you covered. And here's the deal with BetUS. You put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free. It's what we call a 125% deposit bonus. It's a great deal. It's like buying a pizza and then getting an extra pizza and a couple more slices for free. It's a great deal. And so if you're looking to make a bet, you want to bet on some playoff action, whatever it may be, BetUS has got you covered. Get your bets in now. Chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code NFL Daily at checkout for that 125% deposit bonus. You'd be glad you did. Who will be a surprise cut, says Michael Ayers. Michael, thanks for that question of who will be a surprise cut. One name I'm watching for, and I don't know if it would necessarily be a huge shocker when you kind of read into the situation, but I'm watching carefully of what happens in Baltimore with Tyler Huntley. Because you look at with Tyler Huntley there, here is a new offensive scheme that Todd Monken is bringing in, their offensive coordinator. We know Lamar's that guy, and Tyler Huntley in that offense, when he took over last year, they really struggled to move the football. And we know the Ravens want to throw the football more under Todd Monken. Watch out. They might shop around and try to find a more traditional passing pocket quarterback and move on from Tyler Huntley to be that number 2 guy potentially. I think that could be a possibility. Scully Foley, nice name, says, where will Dalvin Cook end up this season? Isn't that's the $1 million question that everybody wants to know, Scully Foley. You know, I think it's a number of possibilities. It's Miami, it's Dallas, it's New England, it's all the teams that we talked about earlier, Tampa Bay, among others here. There's a lot of potential suitors in Dalvin Cook. Nobody's going to want to trade for him, at least at a premium anyway. But if he hits free agency, watch out. He'll have plenty of offers out there. We'll see where Dalvin Cook ends up. My guess would be Miami, but I don't say that with a whole lot of confidence. Can't rule out New Orleans, a number of teams as well. What team will Dalvin Cook play for in 2023? Give me one team where you think he ultimately ends up in the comments section. Predict it for me where Dalvin Cook will go to begin this upcoming season. Harrison Sanchez says, will the Chargers trade for anybody? Potentially. You look at the Chargers team, you have a franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. You have some pretty decent talent around him. You're a good but not great team, though. You're trying to really, take that next step. You're looking for one more elite talent, one more elite player potentially. Now, I could see them trading away Kenneth Murray, the former first-round pick out of Oklahoma a couple of years ago, who I think they haven't utilized correctly. I think Kenneth Murray can be a Pro Bowl linebacker in the NFL, but he hasn't necessarily fit what the Chargers are trying to do. So I could see them trading him away. As far as who they could bring in potentially, well, they're not getting Davante Adams. He's within the same division, so you can rule that out. But if you could find one more explosive playmaker like DeAndre Hopkins, wouldn't that be something there? I think that's what you need. If you're going to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs in that division, you need playmakers. Look out for D-Hop. We'll see what he can do there. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there. Hit me up, and I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you next time here on NFL Daily. All right. So, what team will Dalvin Cook play for? I see Dustin says the Cowboys. Jordan says the Jags. George Lopez checking in the chat. Thanks, George. Says the Cowboys. Vex says the Cowboys. Dustin says the Cowboys. That one Falcon fan says Atlanta. Go figure. Squads, Barkley says Seattle. Don't think he's staying in the division, but nice try. Sports Hulk says the Cowboys. Oblivion Empire says the Bills. Trace, I think Miami. That's my odds-on favorite. I'm not totally confident on that, but that would be my guess as far as that goes, my educated guess. What would be your answer?
For D-Hop, man, or for Dalvin Cook, I was that D-Hop, man. For Dalvin Cook, it feels like he's a Dolphin. It feels like he's headed to Miami. I honestly, hot take, I could see the Vikings cutting him and then the Dolphins just signing him. I don't know if he'll get traded because I don't know what his trade value would be. I feel like the Vikings would want more than like a 6th or 7th pick, and I don't know if they're going to get a ton in return for Dalvin Cook. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins. I'm saying Dolphins. Staying on the Vikings from Vex. Maybe.
John says Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati.
What's up, Kyle? How you doing, brother?
Well, that's Cincinnati. Let me talk about them for a second.
That's actually a good one.
So Joe Mixon, his future is kind of uncertain.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some pending legal stuff going on. They did. Samaje Perine ended up leaving. He's in Denver now. Cincinnati is in a very unique situation of trying to capitalize on Joe Burrow on the cheap before they have to start cutting bait with a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm.
You're in win-now mode and you're Cincinnati. Even if Joe Mixon's there, you still might want to go ahead and bring in Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a quality veteran player who knows the game of football. He knows it at the NFL level. He's played it at very high level. So, bringing him into Cincinnati could give Joe Burrow that extra veteran that he may need. I think that's something that's definitely worth talking about. The Rams as well from Merle Garrett, maybe. Could be an interesting one.
Maybe. Jordan?
Maybe.
Good question. Use hashtag NFL. We'll answer it the next mailbag.
We do have another mailbag coming up. So if you didn't get your question answered, ask it again. Hashtag NFL. Better yet, Super Chat. That's the only way we guarantee you that you get on the show.
Right. Hashtag NFL Super Chat. We'll get to that later. Next up, Davante Adams trade destinations. Now, before you say to yourself, why the hell would the Raiders be trading Davante Adams? We have a full explanation. We'll show you the scenario that's going on right now and explain exactly what's going on in that situation. So we'll get to that coming up. Davante Adams, trade destination. Still got another mailbag we'll get to. Use hashtag NFL or a super chat to get on the mailbag.
Hey, Nicholas, don't be upset that your question didn't get cut on screen. We have a lot of them coming in, so we'll get you next time, my friend.
Yeah. Nicholas, stay patient, my friend. Stay thirsty, too. Stay thirsty, my friends. Speaking of which, I need a little swig. All right. FinFan. See, that's how you do it, Nicholas. Hashtag NFL like FinFan 2023. And we'll get to that in the next mailbag. Davante Adams, trade destinations. Sounds crazy, but hear us out for a second. We'll explain the situation coming up right now. Welcome in, NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Coming up on today's show, we are talking Davante Adams trade destinations. Now, I know what you're thinking. What? We'll explain what's going on in Las Vegas between Davante Adams and the Raiders before we show you potential trade destinations. We'll get to all that and more coming up in just a moment. But first, if your team had a good offseason, unlike the Las Vegas Raiders, go ahead and like today's video. If not, if you're a Raider fan, you had a bad offseason. You ended up with Jimmy G as your quarterback. You went from Derek Carr to Jimmy G. You went from Chili's to Applebee's. That would be my answer if I were a Raider fan of why you didn't have a good offseason. But if you're a Raider fan or somebody else that had a bad offseason, tell me why you had a bad offseason in the comments section below. All right. So the hits just keep on coming for Las Vegas. We mentioned just how bad things went of going to Jimmy G, right, from Derek Carr. And now Davante Adams, with the moves that have been made there, of trying to create this New England West, he's not happy, and you can't really blame him. And so with that, of the way he feels, according to reports that we'll show you here in just a second, there might be a trade happening. We might see the possibility of Davante Adams just being done with Las Vegas and looking for somewhere else to go. So we'll get to the trade destinations here in just a second. But well, let's set the scene for you. Let's start with what Florio had to say from Pro Football Talk. The Raiders could, in theory, trade Adams after June 1, limited the cap charge to $7.85 million this year and $23.6 million in 2024. Alternatively, he could be traded after June 1 of 2024, once again cutting the cap charge to $7.85 million and kicking $15.7 million to 2025. Adams has a manageable salary of $6.03 million in 2023. He already has received a $20 million roster bonus. If Adams' agitation is enough to get the Raiders to move on, they could do with a reasonable cap consequence this year and a larger but not crippling one in 2024. Now, let me begin by saying this. Davante Adams is a generational talent. Still the best receiver in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. And last year, he had a lot to prove, right? Not playing with Aaron Rodgers, playing with Derek Carr, and he still had an impressive season last year, putting up incredible numbers. So he's already proved that it wasn't just a byproduct to play with Aaron Rodgers, that he is still one of the best and one of the all-time greats, quite frankly. And so it would be ridiculous for the Raiders to trade Davante Adams. But if he's not happy, doesn't want to be there, and if he doesn't play, you might not have a choice. Here's the situation as described by Davante Adams himself on the Raiders. Quote, the front office think this is the best bet for us right now to put us in a position to be urgent. We don't see eye to eye on what we think is best for us right now. You don't have to read into that very much to tell that he's not on the same page as this organization. And quite frankly, he has every reason to be upset with the decisions that have been made here. And we saw Josh McDaniels in his first tenure as a head coach when he was in Denver, chase off talent like Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall, makes sense that Davante Adams is kind of going through something similar to what we saw with what Josh had previously in Denver. Will the Raiders trade Davante Adams? What do you think? Y for yes, in for no, or is everything going to be worked out, or is this just a little trouble in paradise? Let me know what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Will a trade happen or not? Tell me what you think. Y for yes, in for no. So let's go over these trade destinations. I'm going to start with the New York Football Giants. The Giants have added every receiver and their mother to their roster this offseason. But even with the receiver additions that the Giants have made, they're still looking for that elite talent. And the Giants are kind of in that second tier in the NFC with teams like Seattle and Dallas and others, and they need to take that next step. And they need to get a guy that Daniel Jones can rely upon and trust. Davante Adams could be that guy potentially. And you're giving up a first-round pick and probably an additional pick or two. If you're the New York Giants, I think with your sense of urgency, that could make sense if you're for New York to give up that type of capital. You can't talk about a Davante Adams trade without mentioning the New Orleans Saints. We know about the connection between Derek Carr and Davante Adams. Derek Carr was the biggest reason that Davante Adams ultimately ended up in Vegas to begin with. And even though things didn't go as planned for the Vegas Raiders this past year, we still know that their relationship is tight, that Derek Carr and Davante Adams still are very close and, enjoy each other. And so you have to think just the possibility that the Saints are on the radar here. Now, I haven't necessarily liked the Saints offseason, the things that the Saints did. I didn't like them paying all the money that they did for Derek Carr and company. But you're in a division, okay? Even when you got a guy like Derek Carr as your quarterback, you are in a division that is so bad with Carolina and Atlanta and Tampa Bay and company that as New Orleans, you are maybe a player or two away from establishing yourself as the team to beat in that division. You get Davante Adams immediately. Within seconds, New Orleans becomes the favorites in that division, if they're not already. So that's the type of impact Davante Adams could have potentially with that Saints team. We already know about the relationship there. Where does Davante Adams play next season? Is it right back there in Vegas? Is it somewhere else? What do you think? Tell me in the comments section. Tell me one team where you think Davante Adams ends up playing for in our comments section below. Today's show is sponsored by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code NFL Daily, you'll get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free. I know the NFL season isn't going on right now, but you can still bet on the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs going on, whether it's MLB games, maybe it's some soccer, maybe it's some NASCAR, F1, whatever it may be. We got you covered. We got your game. Check us out, chatsports.com/bet to get your bets in today for that 125% deposit bonus. Use promo code NFL Daily at checkout. That's chatsports.com/bet. Now, you can't talk about Davante Adams and the Raiders in a trade without mentioning the New England Patriots, as the Patriots and the Raiders have this unique relationship, right, with what the Patriots have done with this organization or the Raiders rather, to try to put together the Patriots model with all the former players that they've put together and the staff members and all that. And I'll tell you this right now. Of all the teams on my list, we didn't put any AFC teams on here except New England because that AFC teams, because of that working relationship that's there. If you're the Raiders, Davante Adams is so good, you want to keep him out of the AFC if you're going to trade him at all possible. And the Patriots, I could see where there's a gentleman's deal of some sorts to be worked out, where if he's going to go anywhere, the Patriots could be that fit. Not to mention the Patriots still looking for receiver help. And we've heard that they're not happy with Devontae Parker and some of these other receivers there with this New England Patriots team. They want to upgrade that position. They want a running mate with Juju. why not Davante Adams if you're Bill Belichick and company there? Next up, the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta, a very similar situation to what we talked about with the New Orleans Saints. They're in the NFC South. And here's an Atlanta Falcons team that has their young quarterback in Desmond Ridder. Okay? They got that going for them. You have some young, talented players, like Kyle Pitts and company. But you're still trying to find more playmakers. You're trying to make that offense dynamic and make things easier on your young quarterback. Atlanta is a team that can make sense, and Atlanta has money to spend too. Not only can they give up the draft capital to make a trade, but they could also give up the money to pay Davante Adams that he would require. Last team, also in the Division II, the Carolina Panthers. The one thing that's different, though, about Carolina compared to Atlanta and New Orleans, those teams in their division, Carolina is still, I think, a long ways away. Okay? With all that they gave up, with DJ Moore and some of these other guys here, they are hitting the reset button completely. Atlanta and New Orleans are all in on trying to win this division right now. If you're Carolina, I mean, if you win the division, that'd be cool, but it's not something that you have to do right now. You are resetting completely as far as that Carolina team goes. So watch out. Bryce Young could be getting some help there in Carolina. What team would be the best fit for Davante Adams? Of who we talked about or somebody out there? Maybe it's still the Las Vegas Raiders. Tell me what you think would be the best fit for Davante Adams in the comment section below. Hit me up on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tyler Jones Live. You can find me there, and I'll see you next time here on NFL Daily. All right, so that is 3 segments down, 1 to go. We'll do another mailbag. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. Check in the chat. What team would be the best fit for Davante Adams? Dustin says the Dallas Cowboys. James says Green Bay. We got a Russian in the chat. Says I'm for Kansas City. A Russian Chiefs fan. Didn't know that was a thing. Let's see. Utica, New York. Dallas, Seattle. He's not going to be a Seahawk. I can tell you that. Seattle's loaded receiver. Melissa says the Cowboys. Trace, I'm sure your answer is New Orleans, right?
I mean, I would love them. I personally would love them. But I also don't think that the Saints would, I don't know, maybe they would. Hot take, I know you said no AFC. Maybe the Chargers, maybe. I doubt it. Actually, no, that won't happen because they're in the same division, not just same conference. I do like the fit with the Giants. I think that that's a team that could be interesting. Also, what about I don't know, the Chiefs? Or no, they won't give them to the Chiefs.
Not in the division. Right.
Broncos maybe?
Same thing. Division.
Same thing. Damn it. I don't know, man. Because the Raiders definitely aren't sending him.
Another team I didn't mention that if we're going to go AFC, the Bills.
Yes. The Bills is a good. The Jets as well. The Jets is another one.
Jets are kind of stockpiled at receiver, although you do have the Rodgers thing going too.
So. That's one that may be interesting. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I think there's still a lot of more developments to come when it comes to Davante Adams and his potential future there with Las Vegas. We'll continue to follow it here on NFL Daily. One more segment to go. That is our last Q&A mailbag. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. Looking in particular for some free agency questions. If you want to talk free agency, we will prioritize those questions. But we'll take whatever you guys got. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. You use hashtag NFL. That makes things a lot easier for Trizzy Trace to get your questions on screen there when we get to that here in just a second. I know we had some questions come in earlier. We'll reach out and get those, but continue to send those in to us, hashtag NFL or Super Chat, and we'll get this thing going. Trace?
I'm curious as to what you have to say. John Dorman says, what about pairing up Cooper Kupp and Davante Adams under Sean McVay? I don't think the Rams have what it takes to trade for him, considering they have literally no draft picks, but would be an interesting
So the Rams finally do have draft picks next year.
No, they have them next year. You're right.
But the Rams are not in win-now mode right now. They unloaded on some guys this year. Moved on from Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner, among others. I don't think that the Rams are necessarily trying to, as much sense as that makes, of Kupp and Adams together, that'd be badass. as much sense as that makes, I see where you're coming from. This is a Rams team that is not trying to build a roster to compete in 2023, if we're being honest here.
And Jordan Hicks, you got a really good question there. So I'm going to need you to use hashtag NFL so that way we can get it on the show in this next mailbag.
Yes. Simple as that. Hashtag NFL. That's all we ask. That's all we ask. You can super chat either way, and we'll get those questions in. So we're just about ready to go. Hashtag NFL, super chat to get on the show, and we'll go ahead and get this thing started. All right, we're just about ready, folks. Hashtag NFL super chat to get on the mailbag. Particular, we're talking free agency as well. If you got specific free agency questions, we'll get to those, and I'll start whenever Trizzy's ready for me. So, all right, here we go. NFL Daily coming up in just a matter of moments. Before we do, you may be sitting here watching this mailbag and saying to yourself, man, I want to be a part of a mailbag. I got questions that I want answered. Well, you too can be a part of a mailbag here on the channel by subscribing and joining us for our live shows here on the channel. When you subscribe, turn on notifications, you will know when we go live here on the channel, and so you can get your questions in. You can hashtag NFL or super chat, and you too can have your questions answered. Subscribe now for free, and we'll get started with today's show. Welcome to NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us as we answer your questions. These come from our live show, and we're going to be talking a lot of free agency today in particular. We'll start off with this question from Nicholas. Who are some post-June 1 cut candidates on the edge the Bears could grab? I don't think you even have to wait till June 1. I think you have to look at right now of guys that are sitting out there. And, we've mentioned them several times when it comes to this Bears team. The Yannick Ngakwe's, the Frank Clarks, the Melvin Ingrams of the world. Those guys are sitting out there available, just waiting for their names to be called. If you're the Bears, I know there's been some talk about some of the Chaisson types and others here, but I think, Nicholas, your best bet is to just go ahead and spend money and not have to give up assets. You don't have to wait till June 1. I would go ahead and pursue that right now. Melissa says, do you see the Buccaneers getting Ezekiel Elliott? Potentially speaking, I think they very well could. Now, as I've stated before, and I will reiterate, Melissa, is that Ezekiel Elliott, wherever he goes, his role needs to be as your number 2 running back, to be used in short yardage and thereabouts. And so if you're Tampa Bay, whoever it is, you don't bring in Zeke to be your workhorse. You bring him to be that number 2 guy. Tampa Bay is a possibility. I think Miami, I think the Chargers, maybe even going back to the Cowboys. There's going to be a lot of teams that should be interested in Ezekiel Elliott. New England's another one as well, as far as that goes. But, yeah, Zeke, we'll see where he ultimately ends up, but I do think the Bucs certainly could be possible. Not Jerry says, where will Leonard Floyd sign? Leonard Floyd, I think, is fantastic. One of the better outside linebackers. Got off to a slow start to his career there in Chicago, then really just kicked it in gear when he got to the Los Angeles Rams. He and Bobby Wagner were a good combination this past year. Leonard Floyd had 9 sacks in 2023. Leonard Floyd is a fantastic player. I really like Leonard Floyd a lot. As far as where he could end up, teams that need those outside linebackers that are looking for pass rusher help of some sorts, I look at one team in particular when it comes to Leonard Floyd of where he could possibly end up. We've talked about Dalvin Cook going to Miami. What about Leonard Floyd in Miami? That's a team that piques my interest as far as that goes. Miami being a possibility. I'm also looking at potentially maybe a team that comes to mind is Philadelphia. Philadelphia keeps continuing to stack up and add. Leonard Floyd. I saw Seattle's name come up, and Seattle's already pretty good at outside linebackers. That one didn't make a whole lot of sense, but Leonard Floyd will have plenty of opportunities wherever he goes. But thanks for the question, not Jerry Jones. Who will sign Leonard Floyd in NFL free agency? Give me a team that comes to mind. Where is Leonard Floyd going to end up when it's all said and done? This is our pen comment today. You might get an ad break, if so take advantage of it. Get your votes in. Tell me what you think. Where will Leonard Floyd sign? Let me know. Jordan writes, do you feel like the Jaguars can make it to the playoffs again and make history if the Jaguars cannot get Dalvin Cook? Is there a chance that they can get Davante Adams? We've had a good offseason. The Jags very well should be the favorites in their division, kind of by default, because the AFC South is hot garbage, okay? The Colts might be the worst team in the league. The Texans are rebuilding, okay? And then Tennessee, I mean, whether they admit it or not, they should be rebuilding anyway. So that leaves the Jags by default. Well, we got Trevor Lawrence and company. I mean, they should win the division. They could win the division probably with 9 wins, realistically. I say that all to say, though, I like what Doug Peterson's doing. I like Trevor Lawrence. Some of their key contributors on that team. That defense was really solid as well. Yes, Jags should win the division. Dalvin Cook could be your number 2 back there behind Travis Etienne. That could be a good 1-2 punch. As far as getting Davante Adams goes, don't think that happens because of what you did to bring in Calvin Ridley already. And you already have a decent receiving core as is with Christian Kirk and Zay and some of those other guys there. I think Jacksonville is going to be a force to be reckoned with. They'll make some noise in 2023. GDLT. Davante to the Lions with Goff, Gibbs, Laporta, and St. Brown. Wouldn't that be hilarious? I don't know if Davante Adams is going to Detroit, but it would be hysterical if he ended up back in that division and joined that Lions team. And with Williams, of course, dealing with that 6-game suspension to open up the season, watch out. Detroit, I think they could be aggressive and make a potential move of some sorts to find a playmaker. Maybe not Davante Adams, but maybe make a playmaker of some sorts to keep them in contention and still get off to a good start to the season. Kyle says, what do you think of Harrison Hand, cornerback from Chicago? I think New Orleans could use another corner. Harrison Hand, solid football player. New Orleans, they certainly need some help on that defense there. Anything really helps as far as that goes. I don't know necessarily what the trade value would be of what his necessarily worth is, but it's worth looking into as far as New Orleans goes. Rookie jerseys on sale now. The NFL draft concluded about a month ago, but now's your chance to get the rookie jerseys of some of your favorite future players of your teams. Well, I say future. They're already there. The Devin Witherspoons, the Bijan Robinson, C.J. Strouds, Bryce Youngs of the world, Christian Gonzalez, and others. We have their jerseys on sale now. Look, these guys you're hoping for to play for a really long time for these teams. So now's a great time to get these jerseys. That way you can get the most out of these players in their uniforms, as far as I'm concerned. You can get yours now, chatsports.com/NFL jersey. And I got to tell you, like that Stroud jersey, like that looks awesome. Get these now, and then you can wear them in time for preseason, the season, have them around, and wear these for a long time because these are going to be your future faces of your franchise if you're a fan of one of these teams. Get yours today, chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Mario says, do you think the Raiders trade Hunter Renfrow? Mario, I do think there's a decent chance the Raiders trade Hunter Renfrow. As we've seen the Raiders go through these wholesale changes of sorts, to me, that seems like a possibility we've talked about for quite some time that they could potentially make a move with a Hunter Renfrow. I like Hunter Renfrow. I do. I believe that he's had a couple different 1,000-yard seasons, and he's led that team in receiving a couple different times. He was a nice value pick for that Raiders team in the old regime under Mike Mayock, but he's had some problems staying healthy as well. One idea, I was talking to our boy Jeremy Chuggs about this the other day, was the Patriots. We mentioned the history between the Patriots and the Raiders of them, kind of doing business together as of late. What if you sent Hunter Renfrow to New England to pair up with Belichick, and maybe you got a guy like Kendrick Bourne and worked out some deal of some sorts in between and gave both those guys fresh starts? I feel like Belichick has belonged in New England for a long time. It was joked about even when he was at Clemson that he was a future Belichick receiver. We'll see if they make it happen. Paul writes, where will Jarvis Landry sign in free agency? Well, Jarvis Landry is probably the best wide receiver left on the wide receiver free agent market at this point in time. And Jarvis Landry, I thought, had a really good start to his career when he began in Miami, goes to Cleveland, and then with New Orleans this past year, he missed a decent amount of time. I believe it was upwards of 6-7 games, Trace, somewhere around that range, and just never really got comfortable in that offense and never made a huge impact. Now, I think with Jarvis Landry, he's not going to cost you a whole lot of wherever he signs to this next contract. And so if you can get him to be your number 3 receiver and stay healthy, he could be as good as any number 3 receiver in the league. He hasn't forgotten how to play football. So with that, I think New England is a possibility. Any team that's looking for that number 3 receiver type, watch out. Jarvis Landry could be that guy. Dallas could be a potential fit for him. Pittsburgh could be a fit. There's a number of teams. Anyone that's looking for that number 3 receiver, maybe even Baltimore, even with all the receivers they've brought in, they've spent money at that spot. Maybe they would like him potentially a little more than Nelson Aguilar as far as that goes. So Jarvis Landry is going to play somewhere this year. If he can stay healthy, he can still have a significant impact. What team would be the best fit for Jarvis Landry? Let me know in the comments section. Give me a team that comes to mind that you think would be a good fit for Jarvis Landry of where he could end up. All right. We are just about done as we are about to wrap up here on this Monday. But we want to know what would be the best fit for Jarvis Landry. Chat looks like the consensus is Atlanta. I'm seeing Nicholas say the Giants. Still seeing some D-Hop talk in there. Trace, you saw him firsthand in New Orleans last year. Mm-hmm. I think he's still got game left in him, but it's just a matter of if he can stay healthy.
That's purely what it is. The guy still is a very good football player. He was a reliable target for, Jameis and then Andy Dalton and then, Taysom Hill here and there. I think that, when you go back and look at the Saints week 1, Jarvis Landry was, a key piece to that win for the Saints over the Falcons. But I will say he has to stay healthy. His biggest thing has always been his health. So if he can stay healthy, he can still, like you said, have a very good impact on a team.
Yeah, I think so. Guys, encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Not only are we doing NFL coverage, but our NBA Now crew is all over the postseason and what should be a fascinating offseason ahead with the draft and free agency and following all that. We got you covered here on Chat Sports. Subscribe now for free. Turn on notifications so you can be a part of what we're doing here at Chat Sports. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks for being here on NFL Daily.